Alright, welcome back. Long time no see, right? So, everything's good and dry here. Looking good. We're going to go ahead and put glue in between these. Put it back in the clamps, clamp it up good and tight. Normally, if these are made out of solid 2x4s, people go through and they go through a whole series of putting screws through them because of the weight and the distribution and all that. We don't have to do that because we didn't use the full 2x4. Once again, this is the perk of doing it with this method. And this is also going to be housed inside of a frame, which is going to eliminate any of the spreading that people have with 2x4s when they warp. So, without further ado, we're going to cut to some gluing. So, tried and true favorite, some Gorilla Glue here. When you're gluing these, try to keep it away from the waves up here on top where you've already stained it. I know it sounds kind of goofy right off the rip, but you can smear it in thin up there if you want to. We are going to put clamps and all that cool stuff, but you really don't want glue pushing through even the residue underneath the clear or your urethane, whatever you want to put on top of this. It's really going to mess with your finish. And something that you're taking the time to power carve like this, or you're really taking the time to hand carve the badges and patches like we're going to, that you want to mean something to somebody, you don't want an error that could be caused by something as minuscule as glue to really be the downfall of the project or the thing that people see. You know what I mean? So, err on the side of caution when you're throwing that in there. So, Uncle Danny enlisted at a time whenever most dudes were dipping out, ducking, trying to get away from the draft, everything else, and avoid this at all cost. And for most people, whenever your uncles or grandpas or whatever you might have were trying to finger bang somebody on a farmer's lawn or field in Woodstock, my uncle and a lot of the guys from this area were straight splitting wigs in jungles of Cambodia and Vietnam. And it was an honor to these guys to do it. So, like I mentioned earlier, Danny was in the 11th Armored Cavalry, the legendary Dark Horse. And if you were a Viet Cong or someone that worked with the Viet Cong or pretty much a little Vietnamese guy fighting U.S. troops wearing a rice hat on a rice paddy, and the 11th Armored Cavalry rolled into your neighborhood, it was never really a good day if you were chilling out in like a bamboo hut. These guys brought the bang bang. They were pretty much jungle tankers. I mean, they were taking tanks and heavy equipment, artillery and armor to places that it shouldn't technically have went. It was pretty innovative for the time, and these guys were more than happy to do it. Like this. And they were really good at their job. They were called the Dark Horse for a reason. And their regiment seen some of the craziest battles ever. Danny was in Nam in 68 and 69. I don't know if you cracked open a history book anytime soon or anything like that. But Vietnam was pretty damn hopping in 68 and 69, I'll say that. So, it was a hell of a time to be alive, let alone a hell of a time to be in Vietnam. But, like many other men, he voluntarily went to serve his country because he loved his country. And with that being said, like so many other people, Uncle Danny, this guy, didn't make it out unscathed. Between the years of 68 and 69, Danny received 2 injuries, major injuries, earning him 2 Purple Hearts among several other medals. And it's safe to say, all around the board, that Uncle Danny is just an all-around badass. But unless someone told you this, or you actually pulled it up, done the work, done the research, you would never know this. See, like I said earlier, Danny was like 7 foot tall and reminded you of Harry and the Hendersons or Bigfoot or something like that. Probably one of the nicest dudes ever. And I remember as I was growing up, Danny always had this thing. If he couldn't figure out a word, he would just make up a word. He worked at a plumbing store the whole time I can remember when I was growing up. And if he couldn't figure out the name for like a flange or a gasket or something, he'd call it like a fucking hootie or a hootadoo or some shit. And he just had that demeanor about him to where, like, you had to trust this guy, because, I mean, he just had that persona, like, this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about. So you would have grown-ass men walking around the store asking other grown-ass men, where do I find the hootadoos or the what-a-duts? And that's just Uncle Danny. But, luckily, Uncle Danny, he did make it out of 9 alive. Not unscathed, but alive. Had him a couple boys, Billy, Danny, my cousins, pretty good dudes. They're the ones that they're getting together and getting this going for Uncle Danny. And it's kind of an honor for it to come full circle to me, for me to be the one to build it. So yeah. Alright, so for the stars here, we've got our rotary tool, and this is a Dremel 10, I think it's like a 106 bit or something like that. And the only thing we're going to do is we're going to go around, we're going to do the outline first, and then we're going to swap up bits, and we're going to go in and do the inside of these. I'm going to try to keep my hands out of the way so you guys can see everything. So let's give this a shot. Alright, so this is like the bit next size up, like the 108 bit. Dremeling these stars is a pain in the ass, so keep that in mind. Alright, so first of many coats of clear. We'll let that chill for a little bit, and we're going to go in here and work on the frame. I'll catch y'all back inside. Alright, so now the flag build is pretty much done. It's onward to the more easier stuff, less time consuming. We're going to build a basic frame that goes around this, and on the bottom segment of the frame, it's going to be a little bit taller, a little bit more prouder, to where I can put the regiment patch, some medals, and the Vietnam tour ribbon, his name, stuff like that. So you guys have seen me build a mitered box and frame and everything like that. I'm gonna speed through this. I'll come back when we got all the pieces cut. Everything's been made out of a 2-inch by 3/4 inch pine on this. Alright, so we have currently retreated to my office where there's heat and it's not cold as shit. Flag dried. I bought pieces of the frame inside to stain and put together in here. The piece that I'm going to engrave with the laser and all that. I'm working on XCS, and I've got the 3 pieces of the Dark Horse logo that I'm gonna kind of sandwich together and give it like a 3D embossed look. I'm gonna cut those out, get those going. You can hear my kids rattling in the other room, but should be a blast. All right, so 3-piece pony patch is straight off the burner. I got it down here, and I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like now. Flip this around. All right, so back piece of the patch, top part's gonna be stained the same as the red as the flag. This down here is gonna be supposed to be white. We're gonna leave it the same as the wood grain on the flag. Go ahead and give it some love with the fire to keep it going with the theme. Second piece goes on there. This all will be done the same as the frame, probably a Jacoba bean. And the very top piece of the horse, I just went ahead and done a smaller piece to inset in there to where it give it a full 3D embossed effect on everything like that. I think it'll look pretty cool once it's done. Give it some more depth. Alright YouTube, so it's way at the wee morning hours. I've lost some footage along the way, but this bad boy's finally done. Stars didn't come out as great as I wanted it to. Waves turned out phenomenal. Sergeant Krager, Vietnam, 68 and 69, Vietnam ribbon. The 3D 11th Cavalry patch turned out pretty badass, I might add. So tomorrow I'm going to shoot a couple extra coats of clear over this whole thing, over the Jacoba bean stain and all that stuff like that, and send it out to Uncle Danny. Other than that, I'm going to get my big ass in the bed because it's almost like Christmas Eve and stuff like that, and it's time to hang out with some family. Other than that, have fun, God bless, love y'all, I'm out.